What's up humans? Psychot here to share more ideas for TF2 with you. If you enjoy this video, I'd highly recommend sharing it with your friends. It would help tremendously. I decided not to record my voice because my microphone quality is absolutely and utterly shit. Apologies for that. However, this voice will still be reading out my original script. It will definitely sound out of place, but I hope you don't mind. So, last episode I covered a few weapon ideas for Scout, and like I said at the end, I wanted to do more of these for not only TF2, but Smite as well. I am gonna be working on doing a similar video like this for Smite at some point, but don't worry, I haven't forgotten about Greasy Grills. I will definitely be doing that first, as soon as I can. Okay, so, let's get this started. This is, of course, new weapon ideas for Soldier. If you have any opinions or things you wanna share with me about my ideas, like, oh that's way too OP, I hate you faggot, dislike, or that's super cool, I wish I thought of that, then please just go straight ahead to the comment section and exercise your fingers if you like. So I will indeed be starting with the primary weapon, but I also wanted to say that these weapons I've made for Soldier kind of go together in a sort of set. They sync somewhat well with each other, I think, and so this could be more of a loadout concept, maybe, but we'll see how it looks. Starting off now, I thought of a rocket launcher that doesn't have an original effect, but I've put it into my sort of style and given it a name that I believe I'm the only one who thought of, but feel free to immediately flame and correct me passionately in the comments if not. I call this one the County Cluster, and you'll understand why. So, whenever the rockets from this launcher explode, they split into 4 mini rockets that each deal 20% of the damage of the main rocket. So if you did 100 damage with the initial rocket, each mini rocket would deal 20 damage each, totaling out to 180 damage. You get the idea. Already I can safely assume that this is not an original idea and has probably been thought of thousands of times, and has maybe even been executed in game through a mod or something. But I wanted to show my version of this concept. Also, if you use the initial rocket for a jump, the little ones will instantly detonate at the same time, allowing for increased push force. So, already Soldier can enhance his mobility with this weapon. The cluster also comes with 25% increased explosion radius, and that includes the mini explosions too, but they are still somewhat smaller than the radius of the stock launcher. It also has 50% increased projectile speed, allowing for more direct hit potential, and it has 50% less damage fall off, improving its long range damage. And again, that counts for the little rockets too. Immediately this sounds fairly strong and possibly quite OP in a similar way to the direct hit, but I'll list off the downsides now before we judge. The cluster holsters a 15% damage penalty. This is mainly to lower the chance of a scout or sniper being instantly one-shot at a ludicrous range, because we don't need another one of those atrocities. It also comes with 25% less clip size, reducing it to 3. And finally, it has 20% slower firing speed, so that overall reduces the burst damage. Immediately we can assume that in a long range fight with another soldier, the cluster would have an advantage due to the less damage fall off and increased projectile speed. But in a close range fight with a scout, the cluster would struggle because of the firing speed penalty, and the scout would be able to dodge the direct hits fairly easily, resulting in less damaged out. However, you could argue that the explosion radius increase and the mini rockets would make it much easier to hit the scout, as you only have to shoot the ground and you'd most likely deal some damage to him 90% of the time. The cluster is similar to the black box, where it can be highly punishing and risky to miss the shots, or fire them off all willy-nilly, but it can reward the skilled soldier who makes use of its long range potential and high area damage. So, quick summary, it provides increased long range and area damage. It increases rocket jump utility, and it provides increased crowd control and push potential. This thing would probably have an easier time dealing with sentries too, as it would have a higher chance of hurting the engineer if he's nearby, and the mini rockets could end up killing him altogether. However, the cluster reduces overall DPS. It can be quite easy to punish, and by that, I'm referring to the clip size and firing speed penalties, making Soldier more defenseless if he doesn't land his shots properly, and it struggles in close combat, mainly due to the same downsides from the second point. but also because it has a higher chance of damaging the soldier because of the increased radius. And the mini rockets would probably hurt a bit too. Overall, I really like the idea of soldier being a long-range damage dealer that excels at causing havoc to multiple enemies, while also forcing him to be careful of his positioning. Kind of like a mage from Smite. So, let's take a look at my secondary weapon idea. So I've thought of a shotgun that, yet again, probably doesn't have an original effect but still a somewhat unique version of the effect, if you catch my drift. I call this one I'll blow 'em up Bernard. Yeah, I kinda went all out with this one. XD. As you've probably guessed, this is gonna be quite the explosive kind of gun. Bullets that collide with enemies cause a tiny explosion that deals 15% of the damage of the bullet it came from. So again, if the bullet did 100 damage, but it shouldn't cause it's a shotgun, the explosion would deal 15 damage. Yeah, you get it. The explosion radius from each bullet is equal to 50% of the normal rocket launcher's radius. The bullets also do not deal any knockback to the user or enemies hit, none at all. Finally, if a bullet deals less damage due to any form of damage mitigation or resistance, excluding Uber, the explosion will not deal any less damage. So that means if the initial bullet dealt 100 damage but that was mitigated to 75 damage, the explosion would still deal 15 damage. The explosions are sort of counted as separate sources of damage, if you will. Oh, and the gun also carries a 50% decreased bullet spread, allowing it to be a stronger force at longer ranges. So that's how it syncs well with the cluster. They both enforce a well-positioned longer range playstyle that rewards skillful players. So, the downsides: the gun fires 25% less pellets, so that means there aren't as many explosions as there would have been on the stock shotgun, and it also decreases the overall bullet damage a bit. It also has -33% clip size, reducing it from 6 to 4, and comes with -20% firing speed. So again, like the cluster, it reduces the overall burst damage and DPS. Finally, soldier takes double damage from the explosions of this gun. So that of course means that he would definitely struggle to fight someone who's getting really close to him. You might want to rethink how you're going to fight that Jabasfi who just pokes you until something dies. It's Ol Bernard can be quite a threatening gun to the enemies and to the soldier himself, so it's always a good idea to understand where you should position yourself before you go trying to fight people head on with this thing. So, quick summary: it's able to deal more damage at long range. It provides additional damage overall, and it allows the use of applying 2 types of damage in each shot. This would allow soldier to fight enemies who have a specific resistance, like the vaccinator. If the medic chooses a bullet resistance, the soldier can still deal good damage to him because the explosions won't deal reduced damage. And the same applies if the medic chose explosive resistance. The bullets would just fuck him. So, the cons: it decreases DPS, struggles in close combat, similarly to the cluster, and it deals no crowd control, due to the explosions not having knockback. I'm a little worried about this weapon being just as annoying as the direct hit, in the sense of, if you hit a well-placed shot, even from a fair distance, you could end up one-shotting someone like a scout or sniper, and it wouldn't be fun to fight against. So I'm hoping that the bullet reduction penalty might be able to alleviate that a little, but I'm not fully convinced. Also, like the cluster, this thing would murder the ever-loving shit out of the poor handymen that construct those stationary defensive tracking guns. If Ol Bernard was a real thing in TF2, I can see this thing being the brunt of direct hit memes and hate comments, and would no doubt be on the harsh nerf receiving end of Valve's non-functional balancing board. Basically, I'm saying this thing would either never get nerfed, or would get nerfed to the ground, and I can completely understand why. But if my execution isn't well balanced, perhaps yours could be, and I would value any opinions and ideas you guys have, so please, type away. So, thanks to the wonderful thing called the process of elimination, we come to the melee weapon. Honestly, I kind of just went crazy with this one, and it is in no way original. I just applied 2 mechanics that either are already in the game, or could have been in the game if Valve didn't remove them. Basically, I call this thing the Grenadier's Gambit, and straight off the bat, you would immediately know that this thing is basically a more fleshed out caber for the soldier. I'm not gonna survive this one, am I? Okay, let's just get this over with. So, this weapon has all its features apply when it's active, so before we continue, we'll just put that annoying little thing right there. Nice. So, while active, this thing provides 20% increased movement speed. Yeah, okay, power jack rip off, but please, hear me out. As you've most likely noticed already, this weapon actually involves Soldier's fists. Well, one of them, and it has a neat little addition. Soldier takes the grenades from his utility belt and holds one in each hand. Upon primary fire, he punches with his right hand, dealing normal melee damage and blowing up the grenade, dealing extra explosion damage. The explosion deals a maximum of 70 damage and a minimum of 30, depending on the distance of the enemy. Upon ult fire, Soldier throws the grenade in his left hand. The grenade has the same speed as a lock and load projectile but does not explode on contact. It explodes 4 seconds after being thrown. It deals a maximum of 120 damage and a minimum of 40. The explosion radius of both grenades is 20% larger than the radius of the stock rocket launcher. And finally, each grenade has a 10-second cooldown. Phew, you got all that? It was a lot to take in, I know, but don't worry, the downsides are much simpler, I think. While active, Soldier gains 10% damage vulnerability, the grenades deal 25% more damage to the user, and do not apply self-knockback. Yeah, okay, I think that's a little bit simpler. Phew. Okay, so already, you can see that this thing is not in any way original. It's just a little idea I had of combining multiple, pre-existing mechanics. Plus the idea of having grenades was a thing before, wasn't it? Like each class would have a backup item that would act like a grenade but applying effects unique to the class. That would have been a fun mechanic but probably a little bit too much, but hey, what if it was just an extra effect from a new weapon? Could be interesting. I also really love the idea of Soldier actually using the grenades he has on his chest. I'd love to see if the grenades would actually look different if you had a cosmetic that changes them, like the Christmas baubles. Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyway, quick summary, it allows for a large amount of burst damage in one hit, provides an extra source of ranged explosive damage, and it increases mobility and melee fight potential. I actually think this could work well as a normal melee weapon too, after the first grenade is used, because it doesn't deal less damage and Soldier moves faster, so it'd make him more threatening. This weapon would probably also go well with the first two because of all the explosiveness. And I can see this thing being like a last resort weapon that's used to deal with enemies that get too close when you can't risk using the other weapons. Imagine the reactions on enemy players when they suddenly get blown up along with Soldier without him doing the taunt kill. Oh yeah, perhaps this weapon could also do that taunt kill. It would fit cause he does use the grenades in a similar way to blow himself and the enemies up. Alright, cons. It can be very risky to use, it reduces Soldier's survivability, and the projectile does not explode on contact, so it can only really be used as a roller, but it could potentially still be good for a close range fight, throwing it at your feet and keeping close to it to either deter the enemy from staying close to you, or forcing him to go in a specific direction through a choke point. Phew, alright, that was a video and a half. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you have ideas of your own, feel free to share them below, and if you liked the video, please share it around. It would help me a ton. At some point I would like to do similar videos for Smite like I said before, and it would mainly involve new characters and abilities. I understand Smite is just for real mythological characters from history, but who says gods and goddesses can't be created these days as well? Still, they're not gonna be based on religion or anything. Just little ideas, that's all. Also, I'd value your opinion on whether I should try to use my own voice to record these types of videos, or if I should continue to use the robot voice. I'd honestly prefer to use the robot voice for a while, until I can get a much better microphone, but again, I'd like to hear from you first. Anyway, I will definitely be getting to work on starting the Violet Cup for the Fortnite Grand Prix. Greasy Grills will be the first track and we'll continue from there, as always. Look forward to that at some point, and I'll be seeing you all around. For now, Pyro will of course be next on this list, so try to look forward to that maybe, Oh well, anyway, See you in the next video everyone. Stay cool.